Well, welcome back to our podcast. This is the Virilitas Podcast, and we're discussing how martial arts can touch your life, touch your community, be used as a tool for rebuilding yourself, strengthening yourself. What's our topic today? This is Mr. Sengupta. My name is Sean Anderson, aka Beastman_Anderson on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all those things. LinkedIn, you can find me. How can we find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram as Neobhi, and so that will be Neobhi, and as Abhishek Sengupta on Instagram. I'm part of I've been a student of the school, and I'm part of the school for almost 6 years now.
6 years.
Yeah. So I started in 2019. This is our second podcast, and today we are talking about community, right? So how martial arts and the school has been building a community around it, first subconsciously, and now we're trying to build it consciously at different age groups, the different kinds of students that you have, and the different age groups, and also across different kinds of motivations. Some people come here for just learning Taekwondo. Some people come for something else, for just health reasons. So that's what is our topic for today.
Okay, on to community.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the community that we have here right now. And that'll kind of show everybody what we do. If you're on TikTok, welcome, guys. If you're on Instagram, welcome. If you're on any other platform, welcome. This is our second edition of the Virilitas Podcast. V as in Victor, Irilatas, a Latin word that means masculinity or virility or potency. But it's a lot more than just masculine energy. It's just like feminine energy. There's a lot going on there. But anyways, that's the magazine. The topic today is martial arts as a community builder. So what does that mean? Well, let me tell you what programs we did today. Today's Saturday, October 11th, 2025. I kicked off my day with a makeup kickboxing fitness class, which is tailored specifically for moms and parents. And
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And so we started at our morning class that was 8:15, and then we had that was for a 45-minute class. Then we had our junior black belts prepping for their black belt exam. That was at 9:15. That was a 45-minute class. And then at 10:15 we had our basic class come in at white, yellow, orange belt, and then we had our intermediate group at 11, from 11 to 12, and then from 12 to 12:30 we had our preschool program happening, and then from 12:45 to 1:30 we had our leadership program, which we do twice a year. It's called STORM, stands for Special Team of Role Models, and we had about 14 students. Most of them were black belts, but young kids from 8 years old to 13 years old, learning about leadership and how to be an instructor and how to be a mentor and how to be a big brother or big sister for their students. So in a snapshot on a Saturday morning, that was parents in class for the first class, bright and early, 8:15, they got their workout in. Then we had our junior black belts prepping for their black belts, 3-month preparation program. Then we had our normal classes, and then we had our Little Dragons, which we started from scratch over here, and now we've got 25 strong. And we're talking kids as early as 2 years old, all the way up to 5 or 6. And then when they're ready, they graduate into the other basic program. So in a snapshot of age and diversity and what do we have? Different strokes for different folks. We've got a lot of things going on here. Yeah. So talk about community. We've got a kids program. We've got a grown-ups program. We've got a parents program. We've got a leadership mentoring program. And that's just on a Saturday. So what do you have to say? Anything you want to pipe in on that?
So let's start with the kids program, right? The absolute, the kids, the program that you have, the basics program that you talked about. What is the goal of the program? Because they are not coming to learn martial arts, that they don't understand.
For Little Dragons?
For Little Dragons, right?
Yeah.
So what's the goal there? Maybe that's one thing that we can talk about. What is the motivation at different levels? Where we are talking about different goals or different motivations for each groups that are coming in that community.
Okay. So for our preschoolers, basically, you got kids with energy. They're learning out how to walk and get out of diapers and transitioning to toddler or little kid. And so the parents are going to bring them somewhere to get out some excess energy. So they want a place where it's safe and their kids can do activities that are going to build their strength and enhance their motor skills, hand-eye coordination, build their neural pathways. Any parent that's actually like alert and trying to develop their kid instead of just pacify their kid, they're going to be looking into things like martial arts or something that is a holistic program that's a vehicle in which you can see a full transformation of a human being. Mm-hmm. Baseball's cool, but it's like, you're going to hit the ball and go travel a lot and yell, and you might learn some things about teamwork. But there's a lot of other things that go along with that aren't as healthy as, as if I would want my kid to be in a specific program. Mm-hmm. So at that age, at 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, our goal is to let them come in and just experience what's happening in a safe environment. Overall, this dojo or a dojang is a place where you work hard to develop your mental, physical, emotional strength. Mm-hmm. And in that process, you're achieving belts and getting stronger and achieving goals. But really, you have a place where you can kind of just isolate and work on yourself. And so this is the first step for a kid when they come into a room that has safety and structure, but not too much structure because they're kids, so there has to be a little bit of leeway.
It's also a lot of fun. I've been in some of these classes as to help you out, and it's for them. It's like different types of creative exercises, sort of thing. So not too hard, but also helps them think differently and not only exercise but also have fun.
Right. And that's the trick with the martial arts instruction or fitness instruction, whether you're in martial arts specifically or you're doing some type of other physical activity. A lot of repetition. Mm-hmm. And you got to get creative in how you disguise the repetition. That's all it is. We're disguising repetition. And we get creative and we turn it into games and we have fun. So that's the trick. If you can unlock that trick, you can turn what should be like a rigorous, disciplined lifestyle into something that's fun while you're doing the vigorous lifestyle transformation.
And some of these people who had started as, I don't know if Instructor Talia was in that group as a little dragon, I don't know, I was not there, but I've seen her quite start like when she was still getting onto her black belt, mm-hmm. just starting off on a black belt journey. And now she's second degree black belt. The type of maturity that they develop much at the young age is really transformational. It's really amazing to see how this. Catherine was yet another example of that, and it's quite transformational that how they go through it. So, from the point of view of what you often say in our class, like practice the same thing multiple times, right? The famous saying that
10,000 times.
10,000 times.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book called Outliers, right? And that's the concept that they talk about. The people who had the opportunity to do it 10,000 times in different environments. Mm-hmm. And 10,000 is just a number. It can be 10,000, more than 10,000, or a little bit less than 10,000. But it's that practice that brings out, or that exposure, let's say, that they get from as a little dragon. By the time they mature, they can choose not to do martial arts, but they have that maturity in the brain as a leader. So from your perspective, the transformations that you have seen in this community of some example without naming maybe, that you have seen them go from little dragons to at least the next step.
Oh yeah, well we had someone in our Little Dragons a couple of years ago, and now she's in our leadership program. Mm-hmm. She's actually the youngest that we have in the leadership program. She's 7, normally 8 years old is the youngest they can be, but this kid is remarkable, and she's just a little pack of dynamite. And she's a red belt, and she leads our Little Dragons class, and because she's a smaller child, even though she's 7, she's on the smaller side. The other kids see her power and see her focus and see her determination, and they want to mimic it. They want to gravitate toward it. So at a young age, at 7 years old, she gets to be a leader, and her mother and her grandmother, they love it. They said that we lit something in her that is not going to go out, and that little kid is on fire, and she's on fire for leadership, she's on fire for martial arts, she's on fire for all the right things, and she comes in here, she's happy. And so that's one example of someone who started as a preschooler, and now we have a place for her and her skills at 7 years old. We have multiple people I could talk about. You mentioned Talia and Catherine. These are some instructors that started in kids programs, and then they turned into teenagers, and we brought them on board as employees, and they excelled. And one just graduated high school and is now going to college overseas. And this was a big part of her early adulthood. And it carried over, everything she learned here and practiced here carried over into every other part of her life. And when I'm doing a black belt exam and we give out the black belts and then they get to do their speech at the end, I remember the first time I was here at the school and I saw that, and I was in the background because I was new, and I kind of just watched how the ceremony went. And everybody works hard, they do their black belt exam and they work real hard and feel miserable, and then they get their black belt, they break their boards, and then they get to do a speech after the tea ceremony. And they give a speech to their instructors, friends, and family, and anybody who they invited to the test. And most of the time there's a ton of people here, it's packed house. And to see these kids replay in their mind all the success and achievement they've had in the time that they've trained here. And if they're getting their black belt, they've been here 3 years minimum. Sometimes more, sometimes a second degree black belt, that means they've been here 6 years. And if they're 10 years old, that's a big portion of their life, right?
Yeah.
And if they're 12 years old, that's a big portion of their life still. That's half, that's 50% of their life. Training. And so anyways, to see how they identify with their speech and they say, martial arts has helped me too, da-da-da-da-da, and they name off, honor roll, they name off soccer and being the most valuable player in football and baseball and all the other extracurricular sports or the gymnastics, whatever they got going on, but it translates from here. And so we talk about courtesy, respect, self-discipline, self-confidence, perseverance, overcoming obstacles, setting goals, patience, all that stuff. And every day they're saying the black belt pledge. Every day they're making these concepts that we talk about come alive in their life. And for me, it is making everyone aware of their potential and options and abilities, and then 2, creating a structure so that we can implement a system so that they can do the same thing over and over and over, because we all know that's how you become successful. Time keeps going, and if you keep doing stuff, at the end of the time, you'll have a lot of stuff done. If you don't, you'll look back and be like, what have I done with 10 years of my life or 15 years of my life? So one of the most important things that anybody's learning here from 2 years old to 70 is consistency, structure, and accountability. And that's the final part of the 3 pillars that I've been talking about lately. You can go on the YouTube channel and check out the most recent video of kata, lifestyle. Kata is Japanese for form, but we don't use that word here. We use pumse in Korean, but it means form, recipe, structure, and this is the discipline. And you use that as an analogy or an allegory. I come in and I do my form 20 times, or I do my front kick 20 times, or I get up and I go to the same place and I bow 20 times. And like anybody who has an animal, if I remember having a dog one time, and you could see the little trail because it walked the same little path all the time. The dog outside had his own little footprints, and the grass would not grow where it would go. It created like an animal trail, because animals are creatures of habit, and people are no different. So what is habit? It's an action that you just do over and over. What is a ritual? An action with intention that you do over and over. So it's one thing to have a habit, it's another thing to have a ritual, and it's another thing to have a behavior. And a behavior is in the same family, but good or bad. Lifestyle, good or bad. Behavior, good or bad. What are the actions? What are the structures? What are the steps we're taking? And so bringing people in at an early age, they get exposed to that and they have access to it, and they can incorporate it, implement it, integrate it into their life.
And as they grow up, they also have the opportunity how they want to use it, right? Some may be using it to learn some more martial arts, some more kinds that they get excited about, like we were talking about the other day. We want to learn some other self-defense moves and something like that. Or they can also take it as a form of exercise to be staying healthy, both healthy in mind and spirit and everything. Others can actually take it forward and maybe forming their own community as they move into new places, right? That can be something that they're carrying as a heritage, as a tradition, to the places that they move on. Because most of us are mobile today. It's a world where we're moving countries, cities, and so on and so forth, and they can actually take it with them.
And and I appreciate that, because what you're talking about is a difference in where we are today, culturally, technologically, and martial arts is such a sacred thing because it's a system that takes an instructor or mentor or master and they pass information to the next generation. And that can go good or bad. With my leadership students, we played the game telephone, and I told them something, and then watched them whispering in each other's ear up until they get to 14 people, and then it's like, what did you hear? And sometimes it's a whole other thing, but which it did turn out to be another thing. And then we isolated who was the one who did it, who was the one who got silly, and they changed it. And nobody got in trouble, but it was a learning point. It was saying we should be able to transmit information, and it should be consistent, and it should be true and authentic to what the original message was. That's the fun of teaching, is being able to capture information and give it to the next people without ruining it or embellishing it. And sometimes you can add to it, if it's something that will really enrich it. But that alone is a powerful lesson. Now, when you're talking about martial arts in the modern age with travel and the busy schedule, and which we're a lot more busy and entertained and activated and stimulated than we probably have been as a human race, right? With all the distractions and opportunities to look at things. So the reason and the way that people practice martial arts for the last 3,000 or 4,000 years are different than what people are doing now. A whole different ballgame. Now people got iPads and YouTube and apps, and you might get a little quick snack for your martial art meal, whatever your intention is. But we're specifically talking about martial arts and the community space and how it builds community. And some of that comes from lineage, and that's why I wanted to bring up the old times, because lineage was very important for martial arts. And lineage is what gave you your credentials and your, what's that called? When you are credible. Yeah, your credentials, your credibility. And so, you just don't walk up and say, oh, I'm a student of so-and-so. Like everybody knew you were a student of so-and-so because you lived there for 7 years and you trained religiously or whatever the case may be. So in this situation, being able to take what you have and go to a new place, and whether you stay there for a long time and grow it, or you plant a seed and build a community and move on, community is a huge part of why martial arts is successful. Because of the lineage and then the accountability of passing the information down, and then the amount of time it takes. You don't just go into a martial art class once and get your little snack and leave. Like if you want to do something in martial arts, it takes time. It takes years, because you got to condition your body, and that's what we're doing most of the time, is doing exercises so we can have the ability to lift our leg up and do something. Because most people can't do that type of stuff when they're born. But some people can. Good job. Thank you. I wish I was like that. It's taken me a lot of work to get where I'm at, and I can obviously go much more further than I'm at now. But the fact that we can create a community where people feel safe to come back, and people feel good where they can come back and do the same thing over and over and not get bored. It's fun. They feel safe and protected, and it's a good place where they can fail, but also achieve. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is a very important thing, which has been what I have seen over time, right? I mean, that is a safe place to try things out, safe place to fail, and also safe place to learn things like the most recent tactics that moves, or the self-defense moves that you are teaching in class, right? That broadens the horizon, right? And they are also making us realize, like I often say, like they make you realize that of the muscles in the body that we never knew about, right? Specific ones which can hurt you or actually make you more vulnerable. You should know that you may be vulnerable if people get access to those muscles, because it can hurt you, or you learn about the dynamics of the body or the physical characteristics of the body, how it helps. The other thing which was also important, I would say, is diversity. I don't know how you see it, but what I love about the school is we have people coming from different backgrounds. Like we have, of course, the kids and all, but in the adult class also, we have students who are still in school. Many of them are in school, some are in colleges, some are working. Many of us are quite in the higher age group, and we are trying to stay healthy with this thing. And also the mix of people, like when the point which I often say to many people whom I'm practicing with as my partner is, we should also learn to control the power that we are using. Very often say, right? It's not about, sometimes we do power kicks, sometimes we want to get the moves correct, right? And sometimes it is about a combination of two, but being able to control the power, right? As we often know and often say, that we don't want to get into a street fight where we end up harming someone, and that leads to a bad case against us, a criminal case against us. So you have to control the power looking at the other person. You want to scare that person, but you don't want to get that person injured or something like that, which leads to something bad. So I think what I'm trying to get at is being a part of a mixed community, people from different backgrounds, also different, how do I say, body strengths, men, women, girls, all coming together also helps this school for our training to be able to learn this soft aspects, if I can call it.
Absolutely.
Of martial arts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you should not use certain strength where you may end up harming the other person or something. So from your experience that you've seen over these years, training so many different kinds of students, and you also go train and people elsewhere, how do you see people perceive it? My take often has been that some people don't understand this nuance of it, that they always use the same power, and they may be a 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree black belt, and they use the same kind of power with all kinds of people. They don't understand they need to adjust it to the person opposite to them, looking at the partner. What has been your experience on training different kinds of age groups and different kinds of people?
That's a great question. It's like ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the AIs. Have you used those things?
Yeah.
And you give it a good structure and context. You spend a lot of time creating something and then it just forgets. Or focuses on one thing that you told it and forgets all the other things that you told it. The magic is being able to balance all of the things. Like today, for example, we had 14 kids in our leadership class, mostly black belts, learning how to be martial art mentors and maybe one day martial art instructors. That's what they signed up for. That's what they want to do. Fantastic group, powerful group. Anyway, so we did a drill where, let's see, what was it? I said, okay, you're going to get a partner, and we're teaching. Number one, we're teaching a drill: jab, cross, hook, uppercut. So they get to train. But we're also teaching the people holding the mitts how to hold the mitts as an instructor, but how to hold the mitts technically. So they're learning two things. They got to be conscious of the fact that they're an instructor now and they need to coach their student. And the student doesn't know the jab, cross, hook, uppercut that well. And the technical skill of the person holding the mitts isn't that great at this point. They have a little bit of practice, but it was a new skill. And they got to be moving to the left. So they're holding mitts and moving to the left. And at the same time, the whole point of this drill was using your words to confidently stroke your partner's ego or give them confidence. Like being specific. It's called a highlight. Say, good job on that left hook. Good job on that left hook. When you pivot on the ball of the foot and turn your hip, boom. Those two knuckles, I can feel it. That's good. That's good, positive feedback. It's not generic. It wasn't just, good job, you're doing good, you're doing good, you're doing so good, you're doing so good. It's generic information, right? No, you did a great job when you dropped into that stance with your right leg back and all that stuff. So when I asked them at the end of the minute if anybody gave the positive feedback, how many people do you think were given the positive feedback, the mitt holders?
50%?
50%. And then, and so, you know, some of the kids were like, oh, I told you, but then the kids remembered on the 50% who didn't get it told. The other kid swore they said something, but the other kid didn't remember. So it doesn't count. Because if you say something, they gotta receive it. So then we flipped it around. I said, okay, guys, let's do it. And now I bet those that didn't get the good feedback like you thought, you're going to do a real good job this time. And everybody laughed. All the parents were out here. They laughed. And so we did the full minute, and it was reversed. The other kids were doing the same thing, coaching while holding the mitts. And then we got to the end of that, and how many people do you think did the positive feedback or highlights?
75%?
100%.
100%? Okay.
How many of them turned left when they were holding the mitts? Because we were practicing a left, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, turn to the left. Jab, cross, hook, uppercut, turn to the left. How many of them did that?
None of them.
15% maybe. 10%. Because they forgot, because they were so focused on the other thing. And so that's my point. You got to focus on all the things. And so I told them, I said, do we just do the one thing, or do we just do the other thing, or do we do both things? And of course we know the answer is to both things. So let's bring that into the martial art place where we're training. And sometimes we focus on height and accuracy, so we use a little pad. Sometimes we focus on power, so we use a big shield or a bag or something like that. And if you're, 6'2", 6'1", and you weigh 189 pounds, and your partner is 13 and she's in 7th grade, how are we going to work power? You know what I'm saying? Is it possible? Of course it's still possible.
Yeah.
But some people can't figure that out on their own, so I have to tell them. And so what I would tell them in that situation is the 13-year-old girl is not going to hold the shield for the 189-pound man who's going to kick in his leg as like a log and will decapitate, hurt the kid. I got to watch what I say. No, we're going to practice your gentleness, and maybe you can get that power at the very end and give a nice little flip. So we're going to work on specific type of power for you. It's going to be relaxed, and then at the very end we're going to tighten it up. That's where you get a nice whip. So we're going to be focusing on your whipping power. That's how I would articulate it to you. And for her, she's going to be practicing that stance, long stance. I'm going to show her how to brace with her shoulder, maybe frame with her forearm if she needs to, maybe even wedge that elbow to the hip, and maybe use the bottom of the knee so she's got nice structure. And she's learning how to have a good, stable foundation and become a brick wall as a 13-year-old girl, getting kicked by 40-year-old, 6'1" man who's 180, 190 pounds. So there's always something to work for everybody.
Which is many times a case that they may run into in the real world, right?
We're not training to get beat up by a smaller, weaker person. We're training to, defend ourselves against a more...
And more often than not, bullies, even in schools and in other environments, are people who at least perceive themselves to be stronger than the other person, right?
Yeah, really, they perceive themselves, but really, we know that bullying comes from deep insecurity and probably abuse and patterns of dysfunctional behavior. On that note, though, when we're doing self-defense, we're going to talk about those things, but is self-defense the only reason that we do martial arts?
No.
Because I put out Hapkido videos where we're doing Hapkido techniques, same side wrist grab, we do the technique, we show how to do it, and somebody gets on there and says, oh yeah, what if they just pull their arm away? Or, what if they held on tighter? That's not the point. That's not the point, okay? That's not the point. You want to go be an apex predator out? Go do it. Jump in the ring and see how long you last and see how consistent your training is. The point is this, we're practicing to develop ourselves. We're practicing learning about wrist locks. How can we? Just go out and do a fight and have somebody grab you? No, we need to slow things down and make it so I'm really dumb and I can really understand what we're doing step by step. And so it's going to look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Until you learn how it all works. And then you start practicing and you practice and practice in a bunch of different situations and different environments. And guess how long that takes?
A very long time.
A long time! And you need partners for it. And you need the right type of partner. And you need the right type of attitude. You need the right type of help. So, learning self-defense and applying self-defense, two different things. And so you got the different people. Boxing's better than Thai boxing better than jiu-jitsu is better than Hapkido. Hey, if you're training in martial arts, that's all I care about. I love it all. I'm not going to say, I have my suspicions on which ones I like the most. But never stop training. Never stop training, never stop creating, never stop living, never stop trying, never stop experimenting. You know what I mean? And so this is the place to do that. And so I have to remind the students, we're talking about community, when you come here and you don't achieve your goal, right now we're prepping black belts and their kids, and we want to have them break an adult board that's an inch thick and 10 inches big, and they got to be able to jump up and push that leg through the board. Well, there's a reason for all of that. So we're going to practice those kicks, and guess what? When they fail, because they're going to, especially the first time, we're not going to beat them over the head and tell, man, you suck, you didn't do everything I told you to do. We're going to say, nope, now we know what we need to work on, and then we keep working it, we keep working it until we achieve and we get our success, and then we move on to the next hurdle. And then hopefully 5 years goes by and that child looks back and they're like, whoa, I accomplished A, B, C, D, and E while you guys were all sitting down and complaining about that technique not working or whatever the situation was. But, I want to use this platform to say martial arts is a valuable tool that can upgrade the entire human, period, end of story. You're going to learn breathing. You're going to get the chemical reaction that keeps you away from being depressed and keeps you off of medication. You're going to experience a healthy lifestyle. How many people fall down and break their hip in their 60s? Because their hips are weak, because their bones are weak, because they don't train. And I'm not saying anybody who falls down and breaks a hip is guilty of those things, but if you had an opportunity to mitigate that, would you? Would you start? Where would you start? Would you make excuses? Anyway, so those are the questions. I don't even know if I answered your question, but like learning different things for different people in a community. Yeah, that's one thing I love about Hapkido and Aikido. I trained in Aikido in Santa Cruz Aikido, Linda Holiday, and you had young, like light women that were like 105 pounds working with big firefighters, and it was all beautiful, coordinated dances. but it was a 2-person form or a 2-person kata. And is that person really going to be able to do that? I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really care, because they're in that room, they have a community, they're doing their ritual, they have structure, they have accountability, and they're probably happy. And they experience all the other benefits of martial arts. And if they somehow get attacked outside at Walgreens parking lot at 2 a.m., they have a better chance of defending themselves than they would have. But do they have all the answers?
Maybe not.
Not even Chuck Norris has all the answers. He'll tell you that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do our best to prepare for a worst case scenario, but don't let that cloud your judgment be the one and only thing. But yeah, there's so many benefits for martial arts, and how it can create community. Is there any other thing you wanted to talk about?
Well, maybe one of the last few aspects of it is also community. It's the maybe not the direct effects. I think one of the things which has really has been amazing in this from the school that we have built is, like, we have gained some new kinds of friends like you, and I've come to know your wife, and we have become more of family friends, which is great. That has been. So I'm also like trying to look at the community also builds that feeling of belongingness together, bringing people who have similar thinking, similar attitude to life together.
Camaraderie.
Yeah. So that is also so. From your experiences from the past, have you seen this also somewhere else, or do you think that has been more effective here because of certain aspects that has been brought into play? Well,
let's talk about it. I'm 47 years old. It's almost half a century.
Yeah.
I know I don't look that old, but so where can I talk to you about that? Well, school. How many people from high school do you still hang out with and talk to? And your jobs. How many jobs have you had? How many long-term jobs have you had? And how many of those long-term job friends do you still talk to? And you look back at however old you are, and you look in your hand, and there's probably a handful of good people in your sphere, and some of that may be blood relatives or maybe no blood relatives. But I don't know of a lot of people that have 100 of like lifelong connections that they can count on. I think everybody has like a smaller circle than 100. I don't have more than 10. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. I keep my circle small and tight. My door's always open, but to fit into my circle, there's quite a bit of criteria, because I keep my circle small because I know what I need for my own health and my own success. And so, how many people do I have from the martial arts world? I would say probably all of those close people that I talked about are from the martial art group. I've got connections from high school, Facebook, and that's about it. We say hi, and I know you're alive. You know I'm alive. Cool. And I love you enough to I want to know that you're there and you're good. And we say hi to each other, send memes or whatever. Everyone's cool. If you ever want to talk, cool. We're there. So cool. And then the other people like scattered out from different works. It's like, oh, you're out there. I see you every once in a while. I'm coming down to your area. I want to see you get together. Maybe it happens. Maybe it never happens. That's the nature of life. But the people from martial arts, man, those are pillars. Mm-hmm. Pillars. Anybody I've ever trained with, as silly as they were, as goofy as they were, I trust them. Because we sweat together, we had the potential to hurt each other, and we didn't. And we brought each other to the precipice of tap and pain.
And also taking them to the next level.
Yeah, and then of course I operate as a coach for them. They operate as a coach for me, elevating each other. What better situation of friendship and lifelong connection can you have? That is what you want in a lifelong connection, right? And I remember when I told you and Instructor Freeman, I trust you guys with my life. We've never gone out and done anything crazy. We did axe throwing.
Yeah.
And we did laser tag. So similar issues, but safe. But I've seen how you operate. I've worked with you. We know each other, and it's like, no question. When my wife and I made the comment about you and Miss Instructor Freeman, it was offhanded comment. It was like, oh yeah, and she was the same. We just made a comment like, oh yeah, I would trust him with my life. We didn't sit there and make a whole like esoteric conversation about it. Like, yeah, oh yeah, I trust him. And I told Instructor Freeman, she's like, what? He looked at me, are you sure? Yeah, I am, 100%. And if you don't help me, then I die, then I guess you're off the hook. But, lifelong commitment. Master Kim, the owner of the school, he created a space for me. He didn't have to. Look at me. He doesn't know me from Adam, you know. He's old school from Korea. His prime was in the 70s, 60s and 70s. And he created a place for me. And now what I do, to return the favor, I'm creating a space for as many people as I possibly can and give them the tools.
It's passing that on.
Yeah, create the community, maintain the community, keep the community. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the king of the community. I want other people to raise up, and I just want the community, you know, and then I'll go somewhere else and start another community. It's like church building or pastoring for those in the Christian world, you know, or evangelizing. But it's for martial arts. It's not for, you know, a certain doctrine, or I want you to believe or follow my beliefs. I experienced some crazy things in my life, and I survived. Number one, I'm here. I could have easily not been here. We could not be having this conversation. I wouldn't be on anybody's radar or map. But here I am, and there's a reason for it. It happened, and now I have a platform, and now I'm sharing what works for me and what saved me.
And what others can also use and learn from that.
Yeah, I'm just sharing. Yeah. I'm sharing. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just like, here's what worked for me, and I'm so thankful and grateful and appreciative because my life is so rich. I get to wear this. This is my work outfit. I get to wear this. I get to hang out with 7-year-olds. That's a beautiful day, man. And empower 7-year-olds and empower 70-year-olds. I helped a 70-something-year-old guy earn his master in his 4th degree black belt taekwondo. Was he a 27-year-old apex predator athlete? No, he was not. Absolutely not. Did he achieve his goal? Absolutely. Was it important for him? Absolutely. Was it amazing? Yes. So that's what I'm talking about, is just finding a community, finding your role in the community, staying true to the role in the community, helping build the community, and contributing. It's always contributing. And as you are a man or woman, you know, I can speak from a man, I can't speak as a woman, but I've gone through several stages in my life. And in May, some things shifted, and I had choices. I could do this or do that. I chose to do that. The other thing disappeared, and a whole magical doorway to another universe opened up. In over 90 days, I've created the Virilitas men's magazine, a martial art-based magazine, and now a podcast that is on Spotify. It's on YouTube. I don't know if it's on iTunes yet. We'll figure it out. But it's going to be. And we're doing it on the TikTok Live. I've got a robust digital dojo on the YouTube channel where we're putting out philosophy and martial art training and things to help the kids. We created the Heroverse, which is a comic book world where kids at a young age can see characters that are dressed like this and look like this, and they can identify with those characters and learn martial arts or storylines that talk about some of the concepts that we talk about in our Black Belt Pledge. And we've got a young version of that for coloring books, and then we've got a comic book for the older kids. We've got the Creatress, which is my wife's aspect, looking at it from the feminine energy perspective. We've got Instructor Anderson. That's a product I created. So we got the Virilitas men's magazine that helps men on their journey. It's more esoteric and, you know, like mystery Brotherhood type thing vibe. And then we've got the kids program, which is the Heroverse and the coloring books. And then we've got the Instructor Anderson. I'm creating a GPT that is programmed with all of my information. I put it in there, and then you can have it. And when you ask it a question about anything we do here, it's like I'm talking to you. So that's another thing. And so these are just ways that I've created a community. They didn't exist. I created it. And now we've got the Virilitas line coming out with merch. We're going to have hats. Second magazine's coming in December. We're going to have shirts, trucker hats, fighting shorts, kickboxing shorts. We're going to have rash guards, bumper stickers, tank tops, because Virilitas is a movement for positive masculinity and is based on my experience in my life utilizing martial arts and all the things that I've learned. So that's what I'm doing to build community. That's what I'm doing to contribute to community. That's what I'm doing to maintain the community that we have here. The Storm Leadership Program that we did today is a 10-week course. I specifically used the Heroverse characters I created, and we always have a story. Today we talked about Mama Bear. Mama Bear's in a uniform. It's a bear, but she's got a white uniform and a black belt, and she's talking to the little animal students. And it's talking about how they were going through the mountains, and the mountain climb is rigorous and dangerous. And as they're climbing, it's dangerous. Imagine, I guess, for a human, for the kids, I told them it was like the same if you're doing push-ups, you can only do 5, and I'm trying to make you to do 15, and that's climbing the mountain, okay?
Yeah.
Or you're holding a squat position for 2 minutes, or leg, what's that called? The wall sit for 2 minutes, and quads are going like that. We're doing 5 minutes, and you've only done 2. That's climbing the mountain. So as they're climbing the mountain, Mama Bear knew that if she said the wrong words, it would cause fear, panic, or demotivation. So she kept saying, hold on there, hold a little tighter with the grip there, squeeze that claw in there, get it in there, and lift with your leg, push off with your leg, you got it, you got it. And it was talking about positive encouragement, positive reinforcement, and positive communication. And then we segued into 2 types of communication, fear-based and confident-based. Fear comes from ignorance, lack of knowledge. There's a Bible verse that says, my people are destroyed for their lack of knowledge, which you can identify with, because with knowledge is power. Most of the time our fear is because we don't understand why something is happening. Go scuba diving in the ocean. Most people know, I will not, there's sharks in there. Well, yeah, when your head's above the water, you don't know what's down there. You put on goggles and you can breathe, you look down there, you're like, oh, not too bad. Okay, yeah, there's sharks. But, there's also bears and lions and airplanes up in the sky, but they're not attacking. So, illumination and understanding eliminate fear, which eliminates worry, and then that eliminates dysfunctional communication. But if you educate and empower yourself through information, study, repetition, learning things for yourself, organic discovery, then you can have confidence. And so the Mama Bear giving confident words, encouraging words, and the little bears were able to climb, and then Mama Bear said, you guys did so good. And then that kicked off our whole storm leadership, and we talked about the power of positive reinforcement highlighting. So when you're doing a fight, and we were doing that jab, cross, hook, uppercut, that was a great left hook. When you dropped, you dropped into that left knee and turned your left knee inward and turned your hip and did a nice pivot on the ball of your foot. That's a specific highlight, high five, boom. So just another way to stay relevant in the community and be a leader in the community through the way that you communicate. And the point of this community and concepts that we're passing through our programs is all the things that I've learned that are healthy. So what do you have to say about that?
No, that's true. Even if you look at the real world life, right, business life where I come from, it's a similar thing that you are, of course, practicing some things which you see in everyday life, and you learn from others, and of course you take certain parts of it and use it in a totally different context, right? The martial arts that is being taught here is not something that I'm doing at work, or rather not doing it, but it definitely is a different kind of a conversation starter. It builds a different kind of community within the organization. So some people who are martial arts enthusiasts often ask questions, right? Oh, so you're doing that, I do Kung Fu, and why do you do this? And where are you? And so on and so forth. So even when you are in a networking place or a networking dinner, like a month back I was in Athens for a business meeting, we were talking because some of the people do different kinds of martial arts that they do it, but they want to learn why do I do it? And it's a great conversation starter for us. The other thing I would say is transferable skills. I think that's a very important part that often we ignore, and we often talk about it in business life. We often switch careers. There are always some transferable skills which moves into the other, and I think from the martial arts world, there are many things that you can transfer to a different environment, like a business world, right? Discipline. There is definitely a discipline need there. Encouragement, coaching. Coaching is a very important word because coaching and mentorship is quite different. And in our business world, when we are asked to coach, people mistake it that they are talking about mentorship. So that's something which we can learn, because here in the physical world, it's not about only talking, but actually coaching people doing it in the physical world, seeing the effect or the response that people are having, the students are having, and you're trying to coach them, and you're learning coaching, and you can take the same thing to the business world when you're coaching others on certain behaviors. Many people, they are extremely talented, but need coaching because they don't understand how to interact with people and certain soft skills or certain environments. So that skill that we learned, how to coach here, can help many of us, and it has helped me also transfer to a different world, into the business world. Last but not the least is about being able to speak. I think from the speech on our black belt exam, when we do that, it's a tradition, but it's also an opportunity to express a topic or your what you want to say about a topic which is not related to your everyday work, to a group of people whom you don't know. Because none of those people who were sitting, many of those people who were sitting there when I gave my black belt speech, I never knew. I knew you, I knew Master Kim. Two of my friends had come over to support me. Your wife was there, that was great, but others were totally different. So you're speaking to a totally unknown audience. An opportunity to train your skills and say what you want to say and express yourselves about a topic which you do not do in everyday work. You're not an expert, you're not expected to be expert, but how has it helped you and what do you want to speak about? Black belt, taekwondo, and you. How does it relate? So I think these are again certain things which from a community perspective, it propagates, right? It propagates because you have the same community. What is important is also to realize that a similar community exists in the business world, and you can take it, also builds those connections when you're going for example, as I said, in a totally networking event where you don't know people. Maybe it's a great conversation starter because it's an thing that you share between the two of you. So again, different aspects of community, and also the perspective which comes out is learning from each other, right? There is no boundaries here to learn from each other. There are people who are much younger, who know more, or are good in certain aspects of it, and you can learn from them. And that is what is also in real world business life, it's a real thing, right? Because you want to learn from everyone that you can. That is what is community. You get the support, you get that environment around you.
And the secret of being an instructor is you're actually just still learning.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much from being an instructor. I'm still like successfully learning. I'm like, oh, that person's got a completely different body. How do they do that? They do it completely different. Or sometimes I've rearranged the way that I taught something because I saw something that somebody did as a student. And I really love everything you just said, but because my mind was thinking of all these different things. Segues. Number one, every company, organization has the low level all the way up to the high level. So, in that, as an instructor, any instructor can teach to kick and punch. You can think of it that way. Not every instructor can pass along esoteric information or skills that can help you manage your life. Or skills that help you manage your emotion. What if you had an instructor that was a specialist in how to manage your body? He was an expert in managing your body. You'd probably pay to go to that, right? What if you had a different instructor who did breathing techniques and spiritual practices, prayer and manifestation and affirmations, and it wasn't the physical exercise instructor, that was someone different, but this other person was spiritual exercise. And they're not pushing propaganda on you, they're just helping you use techniques that have worked for thousands of years, period, and it helps you, okay? And scientific backed. And then you have another person that is, helping you memorize, and helping you learn how to memorize, helping you learn memorization techniques, helping you learn dance moves. Would you do that? That's its own challenge. Replicating something physically with your body that another person does to do it as good or even better than them with your body, and maybe have a different body. Those are things that are all different, okay? And then we talk about the low level, the middle level, and the highest level within the instructors. And then we got the low level, middle level, the highest level amongst the students. Each one of those levels is its own universe. The low level A person over here talking to low level B over here, they're going to have a good conversation talking about, because they have the same world, And the two school owners, they're going to have a different conversation. You got school owner from Southern California, a school owner from Northern California, they're going to have a lot of things in common because they're talking shop. And they're like, oh, what was your KPI? They're going to be using all the buzzwords. And then on top of that, the limited information for each of those sections, the initiate of the instructors has a long ways to go before he becomes the Chuck Norris of instructors. Make sense? And same thing with the student. We have the white belt all the way to black belt for the students. But either way, you're learning in that environment with those different characters and those different layers and different dimensions. And then you talk about changing a complete industry. And this is something you do on Saturdays, but then you go over there on Monday and you're in a lab coat and you're doing things with syringes and maybe microscopic DNA or something like that. Does it turn off? No, it assimilates. And so now all the micromanagement skills you're learning here and all the detailed work you're learning about, let's pay attention to the pivot on that ball of the foot, and we're going to drop down, but only 50% halfway. We want that back heel up another 2 inches, all the way up. Let's work the arch of the foot. I'm just making stuff up at this point. But you get real detail oriented. Does it transfer into the other thing? Absolutely, because you're changing the way you think, the way you process information, the way that you develop mind, body, and spirit. So going back to the analogy of an instructor that does one thing and a different instructor that does another thing and a different instructor that does another thing, they happen in many schools like that. And then sometimes you get lucky and you got one instructor that can do all of those things. But either way, it doesn't stop, and you keep going, you keep moving. But if you can transfer that information to another person, and I can give you something that I have that's worked for me, and now you have a new way to apply it, and you're not living on the streets and you're not having to fight people, but you're in the war room of your corporate meeting, you know what I'm saying? Or the department heads that are all coming at, and it's not my job to do that. Why do you keep asking me to do it? Well, because you're supposed to help out the team over here. No, you know what I mean? It's a whole different battle. But then being able to stand up for yourself and being able to have boundaries and being able to clearly identify your own path forward and alternate route for them, that's all part of strategy. And that comes with time. Just like wisdom comes with time. Anybody can have knowledge, but the way we utilize the knowledge is what makes us artists. And that's what martial art is. And being able to apply the art and the concepts and the philosophy of a tried and tested vehicle like Taekwondo or Kuk Soo Won or Aikido or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Thai, Muay Thai, doesn't matter. As long as you're doing something and you're enriching yourself. And there are those who are just in it for the physical aspect of the sport too, and that's fine too, you know, good luck. Yeah. But eventually your body breaks down. You know, if you have great genes, you know, maybe you'll live to 80, 90 years and, you know, not break a hip or something. But you got to start maximizing the skills that you have in the other things. So as a man, you're strong in your youth, and then as your youth fades, you have your wisdom to make up for that, you know?
True.
And that's going to be what makes you valuable when your strength is gone, because the corporations will squeeze you for your strength, squeeze you for your vitality, squeeze you for your time and youthful energy, and maybe discard you. But if you keep developing yourself through a system and you have an accountability and you have structure, you can use, specifically we're talking martial arts, to build yourself, to build your community and your life. So I don't know, is there anything else you want to add to that? I think we kind of touched the whole topic. Yeah. If you guys out there in TikTok enjoyed this, like and subscribe, but I would love it if you guys interacted, follow, and if you have any questions about martial arts, or if you think there's something we missed on this, or if there's a topic that you think would be exciting for us to share, engage with me. Let's talk. Let's make that topic. We're going to do this again, maybe every 2 weeks or once a month or something like that?
Once a month at least.
And next time I'll start promoting it and say we're going to do it on TikTok Live or Instagram Live or whatever platforms we have. But you can find this on my YouTube channel, Instructor Anderson. On YouTube, type in Instructor Anderson, might pop up on the first page. Or you can go to liveyourbeastlife.com, and still working on that site to put the Virilitas brand on there, but there you can get an idea of what I do. Or you can check out the TikTok, the Instagram, the LinkedIn. All my thought leadership and management for the corporate demographic is on LinkedIn. YouTube is for my school and my students and anybody who wants to learn. TikTok is for reaching a certain demographic, anybody who's interested. And then Instagram, I've got 5 or 4 different Instagrams. We got the Grandmaster's Mind Cord, which is the overall knowledge that will be delivered to the AI, and we're going to be seeing that develop, but right now it's in the works. We already have it. So we're producing the Virilitas magazine in December. We're going to have that AI QR code that go through the magazine with you, like you have a guardian taking you through the masculinity, positive masculinity journey. We got some tarot cards coming out that can show you the different levels of a stage based on my life. The healer, the judgment, the initiate, the creator, the protector. all of these different roles that men play. So it's a tarot card deck that's going to be fun just for tarot card if anybody likes tarot cards, but also just to use as a tool for your journaling or for your own processing your emotions in tandem with the Virilitas. So guys, if you haven't checked out the whole Virilitas line, it's coming soon. Every 90 days we achieve another level. So this is happening. If you want to jump in on it, I'm actually looking for some founding members to be in the Virilitas. And with that, I'm still working out the bugs, but basically you're going to get the magazine, you're going to get a hat, a journal, and probably, a codex, because we have 100 rituals coming out. 100 rituals I created, which, again, talking about the difference between an action, a behavior, a habit, or a ritual. A ritual is something you do with intention. So let's say I'm dealing with nervousness or anxiety. One of the rituals might be, I want you to create a list of 10 things that you're constantly stressed or anxious about. You make the list of 10 things. My mother-in-law, no, I'm just kidding. My neighbor's cat, always meowing, hyper vocal, just kidding. Actually, somebody called the cops on me last night, saying my music was too loud. At 8 o'clock. Could have knocked on my door, I would have turned it down anyways. Anything that makes you nervous, and then guess what? You look at it, you speak it, and then you burn it. Mm-hmm. Take the ashes after it's done and throw it into the soil or something. And there, you did a ritual that got rid of your anxiety, or however you want to process that, whatever the ritual takes you through. But my point is this: intention, behavior equals results. Mm-hmm. Transformation in this case. Guys, thanks for joining us. This is the second episode of the Virilitas Podcast. If you have anything you want to see or say or do, reach out. Mr. Sengupta, thank you so much for being here. Any last words on your end?
No, we should be getting ready for the next episode. I think this is becoming more and more exciting as we talk about it. But I think martial arts as a community builder, or as a way to extend the community, to enrich the community, it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a big enabler. So
the ironic thing is, martial arts are about war.
Yeah.
But we are using war to create positive community, because we're not actually trying to do war, and we're not trying to beat up people. We're not trying to hurt people. We're trying to develop ourselves and give confidence to people who need confidence. And that's it, man. That's it. In a nutshell, we're here to empower people. I hope you were empowered. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.